Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time you happen to be watching this. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Today, I want to talk about the superhero's journey, why the book was selected for this class, what I hope we can learn from it, at least one way we can learn from it. There'll be two or three more videos covering the book, covering the character, the plot, the methodology, for lack of a better word, behind mixing the Marvel universe with McDonald's uh, own artwork and what he is trying to do, and what, again, we can learn from what he's trying to do. As always, the disclaimer: I'm not a professional YouTuber. I'm not trying to monetize this, so all the borrowed in images and quoted text are used for educational purposes. Second, because I'm not a professional YouTuber, I'm not doing tons of edits. You will hear me stumble. You may hear the snowblower from my neighbor in the background. You may hear my cat uh, contribute to the lecture. And if I'm doing this late at night, you might hear my wife swearing at me. I'm not a pro. We're just going to go with the flow as best we can. My original plan was to take this Publisher's Weekly quotation about memoir, expansive fictional history, and talk about the different genres and the different memoirs, different ways you can write nonfiction, um, how you can perhaps mix personal detail in with other fiction and use it to create a sort of mixed homage to yourself or to somebody else. And that was the start. And then I decided to move on to something else. And that was, let's analyze the romantic love, the familial, companionable love of a creator. Let's analyze how he shows this, what he thinks about the characters, all that other sort of stuff. And that seemed to me to be an idea that I threw out right away. But it was something I thought about for a while. And then as I was reading, I think that this quotation does it the best. He has a whole bunch of quotations. Okay. And these quotations are not just from comic book people, they're from philosophers, they're from religious figures. And we're going to analyze those quotations to see what exactly the sense of purpose he has is, how he is trying to provide moral clarity so that human beings do not become monsters. So the specifics of the current plan are: what quotations does he use? How does he use them? We can analyze how well he uses them. We can make evaluations about that. We'll look at his stories of gods and devils, which appropriately end in clear moral lessons, determine what the moral lessons are, and decide how best to respond to them. So that's what we're going to try to do. It is an ideology paper. As I said in the assignment, it might well be a propaganda paper. But we're going to analyze what McDonald is doing. We're going to analyze what his point of view is, and then we'll look at how we should respond to it. Step one, I think, is look for presuppositions. Presuppositions are something that is assumed in advance or taken for granted. We all have presuppositions. We have presuppositions about how the world should be. We have presuppositions about youth and age and everything else. And we take it for granted. We don't examine. As the second quotation here says, it's a belief that you begin with. We don't look at them. They hold up our whole belief system, but we never really think about why they're there. And we never think about why we question a whole host of things and we accept a whole host of things without question. And so we're going to look for presuppositions. And I think it's important, I'll probably say this a dozen times, we're going to look at our own presuppositions and we're going to look at McDonald's, both of those as we analyze this paper. So, for example, what do we do with the beginning of the story? MacDonald talks about his life growing up. He talks about church and sitting in church and the clothes being itchy and it taking forever, an eternity. And then later, they went to the drugstore. They would have breakfast. Then they would go to the back of the store. And then we start hearing religious language. Worship at its altar and become true believers and being life altering and transformed, having a religious experience, an epiphany. Look at that artwork. The whole idea of people being totally and completely changed from what they were before to something totally and completely new because of the experience of going to the spinner rack and reading a Fantastic Four comic. Now, there are two options here. Number one, this is the start of a philosophical and religious argument that maybe rejects or attacks things that people, some of you, might hold dear. Or are these just the fond reminiscences of a kid? Most of you are, all of you are a lot younger than I am. And you probably have never seen a spinner rack full of comics. You don't remember the time when there wasn't a store where you bought comics or you didn't buy things online and read them on your computer or your iPad or whatever. You probably don't remember the idea of Sunday clothes that were reserved for just church. That was it. And you don't remember a time when it wasn't okay to wear jeans and a t-shirt to church. And perhaps you don't remember that a lot of the early Marvel comics, the letter pages were edited by Stan Lee, and he called all of the people on those letter pages true believers. And ever so often that text, true believers, steeped into the comics. So is this just the reminiscences, sorry about that, of the kid? Or is he making an argument that somehow religion is ineffective and we have to look for transformation someplace else? That's one of the questions we need to be asking. The comic book rack. I think as you read a comic book, take a look at the pictures, take a look at what exactly we're dealing with here. And remember that all of these were a conscious choice. So, for example, the start of a great new lineup. You've got the wondrous worlds. And I think it's important to take a look at the idea of wonder and how deep that should be instead of just, I wonder what the weather's going to be like tomorrow. I wonder if we're going to get another blizzard. The sense of wonder and awe, that transformation slide is also the sense of wonder. The journey into mystery, the same sort of idea. And again, the idea of immortals. You've got the supreme sacrifice. Again, a religious term, a term of, people who make this complete sacrifice. You've got the idea of the final chapter, death. You've got the idea of power and being saved. And you've got the idea of what price is the victory. All of these were chosen for a reason. All of these, I think, are designed to make you think about what exactly is it McDonald is trying to prove here with what comic books can do, with what he is trying to do by taking these characters, making them his own, adapting them to some degree, and moving on into asking us to think about sacrifice, the role of power, what is the price of victory, what are the wondrous worlds we can go into, and how can we deal with the mystery of those wondrous worlds. We're going to talk about logical fallacies a lot. And the thing with logical fallacies is that they don't cease to be fallacies if they become fashionable. And one of the things I love about the AZ quote slides is they seem to be able to take everybody that they put there and have really unflattering pictures of them. So let's take a look at an easy example. Here we have the Watcher. The Watcher describes himself, and to the best of my knowledge, this is indeed a Stan Lee, Jack Kirby uh, art and statement. Except when we get the whole of life lies in the verb seeing. That is not Jack Kirby. That is not Stan Lee. That is Pierre Teilhard de Chardin. And I apologize for screwing up the French. Okay? In class, we're going to spend a little time researching him very, very quickly. But this is the quotation. Seeing. One could say that the whole of life lies in seeing. And I'll jump down to the bottom bolded, see or perish. This is the situation imposed on every element of the universe by the mysterious gift of existence. And thus, to a higher degree, this is the human condition. To try to see more and to see better is the human condition. In class, we're going to spend a little time looking him up, finding out who he was, beyond being a Jesuit priest and a paleontologist who lived from 1881 to 1955. For the purposes of this video, we're just going to jump ahead. And we may have a problem here. His writings were placed under a Vatican monotheism as being dangerous ambiguities and grave errors. More recently, scholars have identified some racist and eugenicist passages in his work. Now, the fact of the matter is, those may or may not be there. The source I got these from had quite a bit of a debate about those passages in one of its issues. On the other hand, Pope Francis quotes him in a mass when Pope Francis was in Mongolia. The quote that Pope Francis had was, "Radiant word, blazing power, you who mold the manifold so as to breathe life into it, I pray you lay on us those your hands, powerful, considerate, omnipresent." If I take the fact that the Vatican placed him as dangerous ambiguities and I attack him solely on that, that is an ad hominem attack. It's an attack on his character. It's not an attack on his ideas. And it's not an attack on the argument being advanced. Ad hominem is to attack the person, not the argument. And it's a logical fallacy. The D minus in the slide, attacking the teacher, doesn't attack the idea that was this an earned grade or not? Were there mistakes there or not? You can't attack him just because there were allegedly dangerous ambiguities. What is the argument he is making in this instance? Second, there's an appeal to authority. If I say the Pope quoted him, and if the Pope quotes him, that's good enough for me, I'm appealing to authority without any supporting evidence that the quotation is accurate, that the quotation is being used well. Just because an expert or a purported expert in the field, and the Pope, I'm going to say, is an expert in theology, says the claim is true is not reason enough. There has to be more warrant behind it. There has to be some context put into it. So just because MacDonald quotes Pierre Teilhard does not mean we should accept the argument. It does not mean we should reject the argument. We need to look at what the argument is, and we need to look at a lot of other things. If we accept it because the Vatican in the 1960s and 1980s declared it dangerous, if we reject it for that reason alone, it's an ad hominem attack. Somebody else says he's bad. If we accept it because the Pope quoted him, we're appealing to authority. We're not looking at the argument, at the use of the quotation. If you miss class, watch the Neil deGrasse Tyson video that's linked in the description below. In the comments, write why deGrasse Tyson believes people should go to college or should get a college or university education. And students in the classroom will be watching this video as well. I'm not picking on anyone. I hope all of you have a good day. I hope this helps you a little bit understand where we're trying to go with this, and we will be picking it up a few more times before the paper is due. If you have any questions, please let me know. And again, I hope you're all having a good day.